In his second letter to Timothy, the Apostle Paul speaks with urgency of the need to keep the movement of the new church alive. First directing his young friend and protege in chapter 4, verse 2, to proclaim the message. Be persistent whether the time is favorable or unfavorable. And then in verse 5, to be sober, endure suffering, do the work of an evangelist, and carry out your ministry fully. Likewise, during the last year and a half, our own Pastor Paul has worked ceaselessly to educate us further in what it means to be a church representing today's disciples of Christ. He has embraced the working vision we adopted 6 years ago. And despite the stifling effects of a broken world and a pandemic that just keeps on going, he has expressed his need to help us do all we can to continue loving one another and our neighbors, to welcome all into our faith community, to include all in participation and leadership, to re-engage in existing ministries or create new ones, and finally, to practice more intentionally the Great Commission of encouraging others out there to join us in growing our church and perpetuating Jesus' kingdom right here. And now, as our church, our community, and the world face renewed threats to our health, safety, and spirituality, the time has come to ask you, faith community, what do you need from your church, your pastor, and your other leaders? It's easier to redefine our vision and to diagnose and measure many of the basic needs of our church. But it is harder to measure what you need, individually and collectively, as we struggle to battle our way out of the adversity, illness, and dislocation of these troubled times. Please be assured, though, that first and foremost, Pastor Paul is sincere in his desire to know your answers to that question and to communicate to you the value he places on them. Your elders want to hear of the ways that your spiritual needs have changed after all we've been through. And your board welcomes your input and your presence in discussing any matters regarding policy, administration, and finances. Our leaders know that we have no church unless their respective doors open wide to honest communication, and unless congregational needs play a critical role in implementing all aspects of our mission. What do you need as we press forward? What do you need? Do you need a church with the same vision we implemented 6 years ago? Or does that vision need tweaking or compromising? Do you still need a church that focuses its outreach heavily on welcoming folks into our building to be fed both nutritionally and spiritually? Or do you need ministries that can go outward into the mission field? When conditions warrant it, that is. Or do you need a church that for now should focus more on inreach, on new ways of loving and taking greater care of one another as our first priority? Your answers are welcomed, and they are vital to our continued journey as First Christian Church, without and within. Thanks be to God for the knowledge that our identity as a welcoming, affirming, including church has as much to do with our relations to one another as it does to our outward mission. Have a great week, everyone.